Everybody, welcome back to the Percy Jackson Son of Poseidon podcast. So this is going to be my review for episode 6 of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians Disney Plus TV show. And I'll just say that I was excited to see the Lotus Casino, but ultimately I was a little bit let down. We'll get into that in my review, but before you go ahead and get into that, be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Percy Jackson content. Alright, so let's get into my review for episode 6. So the episode's titled We Take a Zebra to Vegas, which is chapter 16 in the book, and it's kind of a fun chapter. After they meet with Ares, he puts them on a freight truck to Vegas, and they're in this cart with a bunch of caged animals, and of course Grover is upset with that and everything. But the episode actually opens up with Percy dreaming again, and he kind of sees I think what maybe played the principal at his academy in the first episode. That's who it looked like, or the headmaster. And anyway, he sees someone talking to an unknown figure about stealing the Master Bolt and how you shouldn't have let it, get stolen, but it's okay. Everything's back on track, and the Zeus-Poseidon war is just a piece of the puzzle. And then they turn to Percy, and they know Percy's in the dream. And so that's kind of an interesting opening. I do believe something like that is in the books, or at least a very similar scene. But so anyway, that's interesting. And then they're in the cargo container, and Annabeth and Percy. Annabeth shows Percy how to, project or make an iris message, right? You need water in a rainbow or something and throw a drachma in it. And so they iris message back to camp, trying to get a hold of Chiron, but Luke answers. And so they tell Luke that they believe that Clarice is the lightning thief, because Grover's conversation with Ares made it seem like Ares was covering up for somebody. Who else would he cover up for? But, his daughter, maybe, even though he specifically says he hates kids, and even, he hates his kids a little less. But, so, I don't know why they assume it's Clarice. But anyway, they assume it's Clarice, and it's kind of cool to see the iris message effect. I don't know if we ever got those in the movies. I think we may have gotten them in the second movie. But it's actually kind of a big part of the books, is they're always making iris messages. So I'm really glad we incorporated that into this episode. And then also, we get a lot of discussion about Luke, which we'll get into in a little bit. But then Grover has been talking with the animals, which is kind of fun, and he's really excited about setting them free. And so I do kind of like that. It kind of feels more like the Grover from the book, and it's kind of just a little fun scene to see him oh, these animals, that one, oh my, and it's just kind of fun seeing him, that he could talk to the animals. So I do like that. And then they end up in Vegas, and they find the Lotus Hotel, which is shaped like a big lotus flower, so easy to spot. So they make their way to the Lotus Hotel and Casino, and I kind of don't like that Grover automatically knows something's up, he connects it to the story. And the Lotus people that they just would forget everything in the story from Odyssey, I mean. And so I kind of don't like that. It kind of spoils the mystery of it and kind of a little bit of the fun. But there's a little bit of a twist. So it's not in the books and in the movie. It's they eat the lotus flower food, and that's what makes them. But in this, Percy explains that it's actually pumped into the air, so you don't have to be eating the food. You're still going to get that sort of forgetful memory issue thing. And so I thought that was kind of a fun twist, especially since they kind of spoiled it in the beginning up front. But then they had that little twist. I thought that was kind of a clever way of doing it. And then they kind of explained that Grover was worse because he was all by himself. And so that's kind of a little sad, actually. But so then they split up. Percy and Annabeth go to find Hermes. Grover goes off to find Hermes by himself. But he ends up running to someone, I think, named Augustus, who kind of looked like Mark Hamill in satyr makeup, which is very, very strange look. Anyway, this guy, something's up with him, obviously. But anyway, he meets him. He's apologizing for Uncle Ferdinand and stuff. And then the other satyr takes him off and drops him off somewhere saying, "Oh, we found Pan. We got to go find Pan." And then slowly Grover kind of starts to forget what he was doing there, and so he just goes with that guy. It's kind of a little bit of a weird scene. I'm not really sure what we're doing with all of that, but I think it's to kind of, show Grover, his connection to, being a satyr and his wanting to, get his searcher's license and find Pan. So it's kind of expanding on his story arc a little bit. It's just a little bit of a weird way of doing it because this character's not in the books, so it's just a little bit of a weird way. But then Annabeth and Percy find Hermes gambling at the craps table. Kind of funny. And he obviously sees them and knows exactly who they are. And they ask him for help to get into the underworld. And Hermes gives this long-winded speech, but basically tells them no. And then we do get some backstory with Hermes and Luke. So we find out that Luke's mom was a seer, she had the sight, the gift of sight, and then it kind of drove her crazy, and that Hermes was told not to intervene. It's going to make things worse, so Luke blames Hermes, and that's kind of all that. It's a little weird to introduce it so early, because I believe it's not even until the 5th, maybe the 4th, but I think it's the 5th book that we don't even find out all of that stuff. It might have been the 4th, but I think it's the 5th. And so it's really late in the books that we don't find out about Luke's mom and the relationship with Hermes. So it's kind of weird that it's introduced so early here. But also at the same time, I do kind of like that, because my main complaint about the books is Luke is just not a sympathetic character, and you find out too much about him too late in the books. And so I do kind of like that. We are trying to set Luke up earlier as being a sympathetic character for later in the books. And so we're doing that background, that character dive here, and I do like that in his relationship with Hermes. I like setting that up. I like Lin-Manuel Miranda playing Hermes. I thought he brought some fun charm to it, and although he kind of explains about the gods and how they kind of have a bleak outlook on taking care of their children, and but also that he says it takes a lot to make a god feel powerless, and I think he implies that Poseidon does feel bad about not having any contact with Percy, and also the other gods, but that they do it because they think it's better for their demigod children. And so that's kind of an interesting look on it a little bit. So I do kind of like that. We do get a quick little flashback to young Percy in a car at somewhere. And I hope, and we didn't get an explanation for it, so I hope that we come back to that maybe in the last 2 episodes, because that was kind of a weird little hint, and if maybe I missed something, but I'm not 100% sure what that was for. So that was kind of interesting. Also, we get more about Annabeth's history with Luke and everything. And so I do like these little character moments that we're doing. We're building up the characters and their backgrounds, and I think it's a good little touch to kind of sprinkle it in rather than the books, where it comes a lot later in the books. And then Percy also explains to Annabeth his dreams, the dreams that he's been having about Kronos and about the mystery guy who looked like the headmaster, about the Master Bolt. And I like that he's surprised Annabeth doesn't know the answers right away, and she's like, there are things I don't know. That's kind of fun. Again, it's building up their trust and their relationship. And I mean, even at one point, Luke is like, when did you guys become an old married couple? So I thought that was kind of a fun little, subtle hint that, they're friends now, right? They went from kind of antagonistic towards each other, that they're building this friendship up. And eventually, later on, they're going to, get together. So it's building up that relationship, and I really do like that. And also, it's good that Percy's not just keeping these dreams to himself. He's telling somebody else, hoping that they can find answers. So I do like that sort of trust that he's got with Annabeth, and hopefully that they can figure things out, right? So then Annabeth steals Hermes' keys, his car keys, and then they go try to find Grover, and they notice that they're starting to forget, so they try and hurry up, and they find Grover at some VR virtual quest game where he's trying to search for Pan. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I thought, are all the other kids there also searching for Pan? Was this weird satyr friend luring children to this? That's very weird to have that character. I could have done without that character. He's so weird. But so they find Grover, and Grover just has already completely forgot them. He doesn't even know they're on a quest. So they get Grover out, and then it's kind of a funny scene, but Percy has to drive the Hermes' cab, his car, and he has to try and drive it out of the parking garage, and he's just like crashing into everything. And so it's kind of a funny scene. And I like that Percy and Annabeth like looked to Grover, like, do you know how to drive? Like, you're the oldest of us. And Grover's like, I've forgotten everything, so maybe I shouldn't be driving. So I thought that was funny that they then have Percy try to drive, and of course he's supposed to be 12 years old, so he didn't know how to drive a car. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then they get out of the parking garage, and they almost get hit by a car, but then they're magically transported to Santa Monica Beach, which is where Percy was told to meet his dad. He ends up meeting the water spirit, Naiad, and she tells him, Poseidon just couldn't wait any longer. You spent too long in the Lotus Casino. The summer solstice has already happened. And Poseidon says, just give up on the quest. He releases you from the quest. Just go back to camp. And I like that Percy's stands up. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish this quest. I'm going to see it through. And you have a responsibility to help. And so she gives him 4 pearls, which are a easy escape route out of Hades. The 4th pearl being for his mom. So I think, she says to him, save the world, then save your mom, right? And it's kind of a weird scene, like the visual effects look a little wonky underwater, but it's also kind of cool. I like Percy can communicate underwater with the water spirits and everything. But so yeah, that's it. And then the episode just ends. And so I guess my main complaint about this episode is the Lotus Casino just wasn't that fun. It's been a complaint I've had with the series as a whole. It's just not enough fun. This is a casino in Vegas. There should be tons of fun. They do open up with Dua Lipa's Levitating song, which I love. So that was really fun. It's not as iconic as the poker face scene from the movie. I think the movie did do the Lotus Casino scene a lot better than this episode did, just because that scene in the movie, it was fun. We had a lot of fun, and the music and seeing the characters have fun really lightened things up. We were at a casino, the characters still weren't having fun. I mean, there's Grover little jokes here and there, but it just wasn't fun. And so I just wish, why isn't this show fun? It's for kids. Why are we not having fun? I don't get it. And I know a lot of people are enjoying the show, and that's great. It is being taken a little more seriously, which is what I wanted. But again, we should be having fun. And again, I think part of that is the fact that they address up front that, we can't stay here because we're going to start forgetting things. It should have been, the mystery of it, them figuring things out as they go. Oh, why are we here? Why are we forgetting things? I don't know. And the scene it was very, very different from how it goes in the book, which is fine if you want to incorporate Hermes. I get that. But adapting it that way, you're just removing a lot of the fun elements from it. Having, the characters, forget things, playing video games, and eating, and I think in the book they even get a hotel room, and so you're just removing a lot of the fun elements from it by adapting it this way. And that's really my biggest complaint. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I liked seeing the Iris message. I loved seeing Hermes, and I liked the ending in the water. The Grover stuff was a little weird with that weird satyr character guy, and then Annabeth is just so serious. Annabeth and Percy are just so serious. They're just not having fun. And that's not the books. I mean, the books, they do have a little bit of fun throughout this quest. Or even, maybe I don't know if they have, fun, but they're making the best out of these, these moments. And we're just missing that with this show so far. And so I really, really hope that if they get a season 2, they up the fun a bit more, because otherwise this is just too much of a downer. Last episode, I thought they added some more fun, adventure type, magical type elements. This episode, they went back to, this is just bland. And I don't know why we're doing that with this kids show. It's supposed to be for kids. Where's the fun, whimsical, magical elements, right? So I'm going to try and stop complaining about that, but probably not until they start fixing it. Overall, this episode was just kind of mixed, I guess. Some good, some bad. Overall, just kind of meh, which is really sad because we were at the Lotus Hotel and Casino. This should have been the most fun episode, and it just wasn't. So, sorry, but those are my thoughts on episode 6 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you love the episode? Maybe you loved it, or maybe you hated it, or maybe you're kind of like me, it's just kind of blah. But anyway, those are my thoughts. So thank you all for listening to the Percy Jackson of Poseidon podcast. Stay tuned to the channel for more Percy Jackson content. I got my review of the movies. I got my review of... Well, I still have to read the 6th book, but then I'm going to review that. So I still got more Percy Jackson content coming. So stay tuned. Thank you all again. And until next time, you don't remember us, do you? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Have we met? Bye.